Putrajaya says it will seriously consider issuing more yen-denominated bonds. That's if the country is able to obtain rates similar to or lower than the 0.63% annual cost achieved for the 200 billion yen bond issued last month. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng says borrowing at low rates would free up other sources of revenue to repay national debt. Putrajaya had made a return to the yen bond market after a 30-year absence, with the successful issuance of the bond, with oversubscription of more than 1.6 times at 324.7 billion yen against 200 billion yen. It is guaranteed by Japan's state-owned JBIC for a maturity tenure of 10 years. Lim says the bond issuance is a landmark transaction as it is the largest JBIC-guaranteed sovereign bond issuance in the Japanese yen bond market. Proceeds from the issuance will be used to fund infrastructure developments, including the construction of schools, hospitals, roads and utilities. AG Tommy Thomas denies that there was a violation of Datuk Seri Najib Razak's right to natural justice, as claimed by the Pekan MP's lawyers. Najib, who was caught dozing off during today's hearing, is appealing, among others, a court decision to allow Thomas to withdraw his certificate to transfer Najib's SRC international link charges from the KL Sessions Court to the KL High Court. His lawyers argue that they were not given a chance to submit on the question of the withdrawal. Thomas said today that the claim is absurd and that Najib was merely attempting to delay his trial, which was initially fixed for February 12. The court will decide on this and 3 other appeals brought by Najib this Thursday. Meanwhile, prosecutors will be issuing fresh summonses to 2 of 3 Goldman Sachs units ensnared in the 1MDB scandal. Its Singapore, London and Hong Kong units were required to appear at a pre-trial hearing in Kuala Lumpur today. However, only the Singapore office was a respondent. Invest KL attracted 12 MNCs including Fortune 500 companies, Electrolux and MetLife to conduct operations in the Greater Klang Valley last year and secured 2.3 billion ringgit in committed investments. That's relatively flattish compared with the 2.2 billion ringgit invested by the same number of MNCs in 2017. Invest KL chairman Datuk Seri Michael Yam says the performance was largely due to factors affecting MNCs globally or in their home countries, rather than the changes in Malaysia's policies. In fact, he says, investors appreciate the institutional reforms being carried out by the current government. He was also careful to distinguish between hot money and investors who are prepared to commit to long-term operations and growth in the country. This year, Invest KL hopes to attract 13 MNCs to the region, particularly the US, China, Europe, Japan and South Korea. These countries are strong in the 6 sectors it is pursuing, namely smart technologies, consumer technologies, e-commerce, medical devices, industrial automation, as well as energy and renewables. Equity Nacional has acquired an initial 40% stake in web hosting and cloud service provider Exabytes Capital Group for 44 million ringgit to broaden Equinas's portfolio in the services industry. The government-linked private equity fund management firm has an option to increase its stake in Exabytes to up to 54%. CEO Syed Yasir Arafat Syed Abdul Kadir says the firm is investing in and nurturing high-potential local companies that are ready to scale and compete regionally, if not globally. He adds that Exabytes is a prime example of a company that has the platform to be a regional leader that can position Malaysia as a hub for business and talent. Through Exabytes, Equinas will be able to capitalize on the booming internet economy globally, which is currently valued at about 14.29 trillion ringgit. Exabytes currently has a market share of 30% in Malaysia. It is expected to continue on its growth trajectory of 9% a year. Setiawangsa MP Nik Nazmi Nik Ahmad has taken issue with the suggestion by a property consulting firm that higher population growth is needed to resolve the property overhang. Rahim & Co had reportedly said that Malaysians need to make more babies to resolve the issue of unsold properties in Malaysia. In response, Nik Nazmi said, Malaysia's housing glut is due to a mismatch in demand and supply, which he blames on the developers and authorities. He says domestic consumption is driven by borrowing and not income, which is not sustainable, and that the solution lies in raising Malaysia's purchasing power.